Guys, welcome to my channel, and I'm so glad you could join me whilst we talk about the case of Debra Jeter. I'm awful at pronunciation, so I'm sorry if I mess any of them up in this video. So before we get started, I just want to tell you that I mean no harm in this video towards anyone mentioned. This is for educational and I guess relaxation purposes only. If this video isn't for you, then by all means click out of it. I don't know why you're here. So this case also does involve children, so if that's not your thing, then I completely understand. Save your mental health, watch another video. So as always, I will be reading from something. My iPad is today, so it just helps me because I have an awful memory. So if you don't like that, then or if you get annoyed with people reading from something, then I suggest you don't watch this video. So let's just get started. So it was a quiet Friday evening at the Hillsborough 911 dispatch center on June 5th, 2009, and situated about 60 miles south of Dallas. Hillsborough was the kind of place where emergency calls were more likely to involve traffic accidents or noise complaints than anything truly shocking. But just after 9 p.m, a call came in that would send shockwaves through the community and far beyond. So the caller identified herself as Debra Jeter, a 32-year-old local woman. Her voice was weirdly calm, and she said, "I just killed my children." Plainly, just that. So the dispatcher replied, "Excuse me." Debra repeated herself, then elaborated. "One of them is dead. She's dead. But the other one, she wants to be saved, and she needs to be saved." So her tone began to shift, urgency rising as she cried out, "One of them is still alive. Hurry." So in the background of the call, she could be heard speaking to someone. "Hold on, kid, they're coming," she said. Moments later, she added a plea to the dispatcher. "Tell them not to shoot me. I don't have a gun." A moment of realization, her composure faltering. "Oh my god, she's dead. Oh my god." So, just hours prior, Debra had picked up her two daughters, who were 13-year-old Kirsten, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Kirsten, 12-year-old Kelsey, from their father's home. So she and her husband Lee were in the midst of a divorce, and Debra had been recently released from a mental health facility following a suicide attempt she'd made in front of the girls. So after she picked them up that evening, she told them that she had a surprise. The girls hadn't seen their mother in 2 weeks, and despite their recent trauma, they kissed their father goodbye and climbed into their mother's car, hopeful for a rare and happy moment together. But the surprise that Debra had in mind was unimaginable. She then drove them to an abandoned farmhouse off Interstate 35. There she attacked them with a knife, leaving one daughter dead and the other clinging to life. Then she picked up the phone and called for help. So within minutes of Debra calling 911, police and paramedics descended on the abandoned farmhouse of Interstate 35. The scene that greeted them was both surreal and horrifying, as you could imagine. Debra stood outside the building, her clothes soaked in blood, both hands raised in the air holding a cell phone. Nearby, a blood-stained knife rested on the roof of a parked car. So inside, in the bathroom at the back of the first responders made a grim discovery, which was 12-year-old Kelsey, who was a bright, soft-spoken girl who loved band and earned a place on an honor roll. She was unfortunately dead. Her older sister, Kirsten, was just 13 years old, and she was critically wounded, but she was alive. So medics worked quickly to stabilize Kirsten, airlifting her to Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas. She was rushed to emergency surgery and remarkably she survived, but the physical and obviously emotional toll of the attack would follow her for the rest of her life. So just days later she was released from hospital, just in time to attend her sister's funeral. So obviously Debra was arrested at the scene and charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of attempted capital murder. Her bond was then set at $1.5 million. She was placed on suicide watch in the Hill County Jail, where she remained silent, offering no explanation of what she had done. Hill County Sheriff Jeffrey Lyon told reporters, "We're still attempting to get into the mindset of why this mother so violently turned on her children." So, the small community of Hillsborough was left reeling. Shock and disbelief gave way to grief as neighbours, teachers, and classmates tried to come to terms with the tragedy. Tributes at Hillsborough Intermediate School poured in for Kelsey. Teacher J.C. Rogers remembered her as a quiet, intelligent child, always the first to finish her work, and often seen with a book in her hand while others were talking. During a parent-teacher meeting earlier that year, Rogers had remarked on Kelsey's love of reading. He recalled Debra laughing, saying that her daughter was always sneaking away to read at home too. Now, that same woman stood accused of killing her. So Rogers, her teacher, his own wife worked as a nurse, and he remembered how Kelsey proudly spoke about her mother's plans to enter nursing school. He said, "I'll really miss her, having her in class. She was a really nice little girl." So, as the news of this horrific attack spread, public outrage quickly followed. Many began to question how Debra had been granted access to her daughters so soon after a serious mental health crisis, particularly one that had unfolded directly in front of them. So, just weeks earlier, Debra Jeter had attempted suicide in the family home, which was witnessed by both Kirsten and Kelsey. At the time, she and her husband Lee were in the middle of a divorce. Following the suicide attempt, Debra was hospitalized at the DePaul Center in Waco from May 22nd to May 26th. After her release, legal proceedings resumed to determine visitation and custody agreements. On June 4th, just one day before the attack, Judge A. Lee Harris presided over a hearing to address those very concerns. Lee Jeter had previously filed for a temporary restraining order against his wife, citing the suicide attempt and expressing fears for his children's safety, which, honestly, totally agree with. I would be scared too. In court filings, he had warned she may be released within a few days, and I am concerned about her possible actions regarding the children. In his request for full custody, Lee had cited the need to protect not only his daughters, but also any other person who has been a victim of family violence committed by Debra Jeter. But during the hearing, his position appeared to soften. Debra told the court that she was taking 100 milligrams of Zoloft daily and said her mental health was steadily improving. Lee also told the judge that he had no problem allowing unsupervised weekend visits so long as he was informed of the girl's whereabouts and granted access to her medical records. So Judge Harris ultimately ordered that both parties sign medical release forms under HIPAA, allowing them to view each other's records. But that order came too late, less than 24 hours later. During her first unsupervised visit since her release, Debra Jeter carried out the attack on her daughters that would devastate her family forever. So in the aftermath, further questions emerged, especially around whether child protection authorities should have been involved after Debra's suicide attempt. And a spokesperson for Child Protective Services confirmed that they had not been notified of the incident. They said, had we been made aware, we would have been involved. So in September 2009, a judge set a trial date for March 8th the following year. During the pre-trial hearing, it was revealed that since her arrest in June, Debra Jeter had received only one visitor, and that was her mother. Her defense attorney, Russ Hunt Sr., shared that his client was experiencing significant memory gaps, reportedly the result of a previous car accident. So when asked whether Debra was aware that her youngest daughter Kelsey was no longer alive, Hunt replied, "It depends on what day you talk to her. There have been periods of her life she has no recollection of." So at the time, Kirsten Jeter, who had survived the attack, her oldest daughter, was expected to testify against her mother. Though she had expressed a willingness to take the stand, she was understandably terrified to relive the events that night. But ultimately, she never actually had to. On May 26, 2010, Debra Jeter pleaded guilty to the murder of Kelsey and the attempted murder of Kirsten. She appeared in court via the video link from jail. Kirsten and her father watched the proceedings remotely from a separate location. So Debra declined to make any statement during the hearing, and outside the court, her attorney explained that she had been diagnosed with BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, a condition for which she had never received adequate treatment. He said that once she was found competent to stand trial, she made the decision to plead guilty, believing it to be the most compassionate thing she could do for her surviving daughter. So according to Hunt, Jeter expressed deep remorse for her actions. On some days she wept uncontrollably while speaking about the stabbings. On other days she recounted them with a flat, detached demeanor. He said she often spoke about her daughters with pride, referring to both Kirsten and Kelsey with affection. So ultimately, Debra Jeter was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, with her conviction secured and the legal process complete. One question still lingered, which is why. So despite extensive investigation, detectives were never able to establish a definitive motive. Debra never spoke with them, and the most anyone could offer were speculations that the pressures of her deteriorating marriage, mental illness, and the lack of adequate support may so will be locked away with Debra Jeter, and perhaps always will, unfortunately. So that is the end of this case. I'm sorry if it felt a little bit rushed. It's my first video back, and if you made this far, then thank you. It feels good to be back. Let me know your thoughts on what you thought about this case, and any other cases you want me to cover, then put them in the comments and I will get back to you. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, and I will see you